You're very welcome back to the show. Now, the Man Booker Prize is arguably the most prestigious award in the literary world. The annual prize promotes the finest in fiction and has the power to transform the fortunes of authors and publishers alike. Past winners include such luminaries as Iris Murdoch and Roddy Doyle. Stephen Boylan is here from Eason to tell us all about this year's winners and also some other great books, I suppose, coming up to Christmas. Great to have you back.
Thanks very much for having me.
Great to have you back. This is the winner, A Brief History of 7 Killings.
Yes, Marlon James, he's the first Jamaican author to win the Booker Prize. He was kind of third or fourth favourite during the week, but he won out the day. It's a book that's centred around the attempted assassination of Bob Marley back in 1976, but it's a broader story than that. It kind of looks at foreign intervention in Jamaica and the CIA in the role that they played as well. So great reviews for it, stunning reviews, and it's kind of like, it's very powerful writing, very in your face. So a very worthy winner.
Yeah, a lot of expletives and different things. You know, it's not, is it a typical Booker Prize winner?
That's the great thing about the Booker, is that the genres tend to change quite a bit, so you never quite know. And the thing about the Booker is that it is just 4 people in a room deciding what they think the best book is. So you always get a broad sweep of the books that win it, so it's a great one.
What does it mean to the author to win a prize like this?
Everything else.
It's huge. I mean, it's a huge boost in sales, but it's also a huge boost in profile. So Marlon James, I mean, this is his 3rd book. I mean, he struggled to get published initially when he started out.
80
but I mean,
times he was
80 times, down. Yeah, for his first book. But this is the start of his big career.
He's made that.
Yeah,
forever.
Huge. Yeah, you just go down in history and you're always like winner of the Booker Prize.
Is it historical? Because I mean, I like, you know, kind of, I suppose when you look at it, I like the Caribbean culture and the history of the Caribbean, because it's just so, I suppose, multifaceted and, you know, layered. But how would you describe this in that context?
It's one of the things that's come through in the reviews, is that he really brings the period to life.
Good.
And it's a real Caribbean novel. But again, as I said, there's elements of New York and kind of the world in it. So a really great, strong book.
Speaking of New York, our next book, A Little Life, it is about 4 college friends in New York, an actor, a painter, an architect and a lawyer.
Yes.
I think
does
that
it all
sounds
go
great
wrong?
already.
Does it all go wrong at some stage?
It all goes wrong throughout the whole book, at every stage. This is kind of the most talked about literary book so far this year. A little life, but a big book, over 700 pages. But as you say, a story of 4 college friends, and it traces their lives through it.
This was tipped for the Booker.
This was shortlisted, and this was the bookie's favourite during the week for the Booker Prize. But it centres, I mean, there's 4 lads in it, but it centres on a guy called Jude, who's a bit mysterious about his past. He's the lawyer, and it turns out that he suffered abuse when he was younger. So it's just how he's dealt with that and how his friends engage with him. So it's one of those books that after 20 pages, you feel like you've known the characters your whole life. Yeah. So a really, really great book.
Is it a heavy book in the sense it's 700 pages, quite a long book? Do you find it taxing in any way?
It's very engrossing, and it's very accessible. So definitely, if you've any kind of people in your life who really love very strong literary fiction, this is a great one to pick up.
Great. Now, A Slanting of the Sun is the next book we're going to talk about. This is a collection of short stories. We had Donald Ryan actually on the show, and he is a fantastic guy, I have to say. And of course, he has been longlisted for the Booker before for his novel, but this wasn't eligible because it's a short stories. Yeah. But how would you describe this?
This is if you loved The Spitting Heart and if you loved the theme of December.
That was the one that was longlisted.
Exactly. Yeah. This is kind of picks up where those left off. It kind of explores the same themes. He's been one of the strongest literary authors that we've had in recent years. I'm a huge fan of Donald's writing. He's absolutely brilliant.
He's really taking off at the moment as well. We had Ryan Tubridy on the show last Friday, and he said he's a massive fan of his.
Yeah, he thought he was great.
He's very much in the kind of the school of John McGahern, where there's not a wasted word on the page.
And he sticks with what he knows, though, and he sets everything in the same kind of Irish kind of village type thing, doesn't he?
Well, that's the thing when I was reading The Spitting Heart, because it was told from loads of different perspectives, you felt like you knew every single person on the page. It was just he's an incredible talent.
And even though he writes about, say, local Irish villages and stuff, how would that translate then internationally?
I think the themes that he explores in his books are absolutely universal. So if you're reading in the UK, if you're reading in France or in the US, you'll get something out of the stories.
Themes more so than anything else. Now, our next book is After You, and this is about a character called Luke Clark, who is unhappy with life and at work.
This is the sequel to a book called Me Before You, which has sold 5 million copies worldwide. There's a film coming in March of that book, and kind of on blogs and kind of book club groups, you regularly see people saying Me Before You is one of their favourite books of all time. So this is the sequel to Me Before You, which follows the story of Louise Clark. Obviously, she had a relationship with a guy called Will, who was a paraplegic in the first book. So this is just continuing on her story. So if you've any fans of Me Before You out there, and there's, as I say, 5 million of them, this is this
is it inspirational?
It is kind of inspirational. It is kind of, again, themes that are kind of across the board, but feel good and kind of a lot of hope and stuff in there.
Would you have to have the first book read first to get all the... You would probably,
It falls on the story, but I think it is kind of a standalone one as well, so you can you'd get a lot out of it. But pick up Me Before You as well.
Yeah. You were on about Donald Ryan and would it translate, you know, but Anne Enright, of course, the next book we're going to talk about, which was longlisted for the Booker Prize, The Green Road. She's a best-selling author worldwide now. And she again has that very Irishness.
Very Irish, but again, very universal. Obviously, former winner of the Booker Prize as well for The Gathering. This is one of my favourite books of the year so far. It's the story of a woman who has 4 grown-up children who've kind of lived very different lives, gone to all 4 corners of the world. And one day, one Christmas, she announces that she's selling the family home, so they all come back for one last Christmas, and it's brilliant. She's a brilliant writer. I always forget about Anne Rice is that she's actually very funny. She has a very dry humour.
That's good.
Running through all her books. So as I say, one of my favourite books of the year so far, and a brilliant read.
Excellent.
Even the plot, even can you call it the plot? There sounds great.
Yeah.
This is our last swan song inside in this house that we all grew up on.
Yeah.
I'd imagine you're going back down memory lane and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Any trouble in there? There's always trouble when you go
always
down.
trouble, and it's all about like the mammy feels very aggrieved because she feels like she's been abandoned by all her children like that. So selling out the family home, very Irish.
Sticking with an Irish writer, Belinda McKeown and Tender.
A great book. This was released earlier in the year, and this is the story of 2 college friends set in the mid-1990s in Dublin. And it's about Catherine, who's very shy, comes from a rural background, and she moves to Trinity College to start her studies. And she meets a guy called James, who outwardly is very outgoing, but he's actually struggling a lot alongside. So it's about the relationship that they build up. She starts to latch onto him quite a lot, and it all kind of goes bad from there. So a really fascinating read. If you went to college in the 1990s, you get a lot out of this because there's like references to OK Computer by Radiohead and all that sort of stuff. So it's a fantastic read.
Emma Donoghue, of course, a very successful author again. Room.
This is a novel that's never really gone away. It was first published in 2010, was shortlisted for the Booker Prize that time. The reason why this is coming back onto everybody's radar is there's a new film coming out which has just won the People's Choice Award at the Toronto Film Festival, which means that it now has Oscar written all over it. Emma herself wrote the screenplay for the book, but it's kind of a beautiful new package. The story of a woman who's just referred to as Ma in the book, and you discover that she's living in a room with her son, Jack, and that they may not be there completely voluntarily. So it's that story, but as I say, one of our strongest kind of backlist titles that keeps selling and selling, and a great book club.
People constantly mention that, and it has been around for a good while, so it's good to see it moved on to that next level.
But apparently the film is amazing.
Wow.
Stephen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
If you want more information on all those books we have featured on today's show, you can go to easons.com.
Now, last but not least, Easons are letting us give away all the lovely books we talked about on the show today. Now, all you have to do is to go onto the Today Show Facebook page. That, of course, is RTE Today, and like and share the Eason post.
And share it before Marlon gets her hands on
I'm
at
getting
least
one
2
anyway.
of them.